Today, I want to give you my absolute best decks for the new arena challenge in Clash Royale. In this new arena challenge, you'll push all the way up from Arena 1 to Arena 15 with 3 wins required for each arena for a total of 45 wins to unlock the brand new emote. Now, the way it works is each arena, you will only have access to the cards that are available by that arena. So for Arena 1, you will only have access to training camp cards plus Arena 1 cards, but by Arena 9, you can access all of the cards from Arena 1 through 9. Basically, the higher you go in the arena challenge, the closer it'll become to the traditional meta. Now, starting at Arena 1, there's not a whole lot of options here, but I do recommend this deck with the Giant and the Goblin Cage. The reason I recommend the Goblin Cage is everyone will be using a Giant and it'll help pull that big tank, but I also recommend using Goblins as well because that'll give you a high damage distraction unit for all of those enemy mini P.E.K.K.A.s. Now, as you progress to the Arena 2 challenge, I suggest replacing the minions with a bomber for splash damage and replacing the Goblin Cage with a Valkyrie to help deal with all of the enemy skeleton armies. I would also recommend replacing the goblins with your own skeleton army for a much higher damage output and better distraction. Moving on to Arena 3, I recommend swapping the bomber for a mega minion. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The first 3 arenas for this challenge are played in casual mode, which means your losses do not matter. But after Arena 3, they do. 3 losses and you are out, and you have to re-enter with either gems or pass Royale. So this is where things get serious. Now, jumping into Arena 4, I definitely suggest putting a P.E.K.K.A. into your deck since everyone is going to be using a P.E.K.K.A. or an Inferno, and your Giant is just going to be melted. But that means you will need a win condition, so this is where the Battle Ram or the Miner can come into play and swap out instead of your mini P.E.K.K.A. to act as your win condition. And I would also suggest replacing the Valkyrie with minions to help distract enemy Inferno towers from over the river, and they also synergize it pretty well with the Miner. And I'd also swap out the Mega Minion with a Baby Dragon for some splash damage. Now, moving on to Arena 5, you can use the same P.E.K.K.A. deck or swap over completely to a fast cycle hog deck because a lot of the annoying hog counters like NATO, Bowler, and Tesla are not available yet. Now, by Arena 6, I would suggest sticking with the same P.E.K.K.A. deck again or that hog deck, but if you do use the hog deck, swap out that Zazbel for a log, or you can try out this balloon cycle deck as you can see right here. Now, after Arena 6, things become a lot closer to traditional meta with things like Royal Hog, Mega Knights, and the Princes finally being unlocked. Now, in Arena 7, I would suggest either the previous Hog Cycle or Balloon deck, or trying out this new Fireball bait strategy, or this Mega Knight Miner Wallbreakers deck, which is actually a really strong meta deck, but does take a bit more skill to use compared to the Fireball bait deck. And at this point, I would also recommend retiring that P.E.K.K.A. deck unless you're doing really well with it. Now, by Arena 8, nothing substantial is unlocked, so I would suggest sticking with any of the 4 decks previously used: Hog Cycle, Balloon Cycle, Fireball Bait, or the Mega Knight Miner deck. And the same thing goes for Arena 9, but if you choose the Balloon deck in Arena 9, I would update it to this version of Balloon Control right here. Now, moving on to Arena 10 here, this is where things get interesting. Golem, Elite Barbarians, Lava Hound, Ram Rider are all finally unlocked. Now, by Arena 10, you can build a full-on meta version of Lava Loon and actually use it for the remainder of this challenge. But be careful, if you do not typically use Lava Loon strategy, it is one of those decks that takes a lot of time to master how to use effectively because it has such a unique play style. So don't just use Lava Loon because it is a full-on meta deck. If you are more comfortable with something else, I would definitely recommend using something else over Lava Loon if you are more comfortable with it. With that being said, I would suggest sticking with the previous 4 decks or this new Lava Loon one, because a few of these synergy cards are still not unlocked for some of the new conditions. For example, Night Witch and Lumberjack are still not unlocked yet, and both of those cards are typically required in a lot of the best Golem strategies, so Golem will not be as effective as it is right now without those other support cards. Moving on to Arena 11, if you are using the Hog deck, definitely swap out the cannon for a Tesla, and if you are using the Fireball bait deck, swap out those Skeleton Dragons for the Zappies to complete this deck into the full meta form that it traditionally is used in. You can also continue to use the Balloon Cycle or the Mega Knight Miner deck or the Lava Loon deck if you choose to. Now at this point you might be saying, Shane, Electro Giant is here and it's busted, should I use it? Here's the thing, the biggest synergy for the Electro Giant is the Tornado spell, which is not unlocked until Arena 15. And in my opinion and experience, the Electro Giant is not nearly as effective without the Tornado spell to pull everything in. So I personally would not recommend using the Electro Giant at this point in the challenge. However, if you want to, obviously go ahead and have some fun with it. Moving on here to Arena 12, if you are using the Hog deck, you can swap out the Fireball for an Earthquake if you are comfortable with those fast cycle chip decks, or you can keep the Fireball in there for now if you prefer the heavier damage of that big Fireball, especially on defense. Arena 12 also unlocks Graveyard, so you can swap over to a Graveyard deck like this one right here, but remember, Tornado spell is not unlocked yet, which is typically required in a lot of the traditional meta Graveyard decks. Now, reaching Arena 13 does not really unlock anything game-changing, so at this point I would honestly recommend just running whatever decks currently are working for you. However, one note here is the Bowler is finally unlocked, so if you are running the Hog Cycle deck, at this point forward things will become progressively a bit more challenging as more and more hog counters are starting to be unlocked. Now moving on here to Arena 14, if you are using the Hog Cycle deck, you can swap out the Musketeer for a Firecracker to complete the meta version of this strategy in the form of the 2.8 Hog Cycle, a very popular strategy in the meta right now. You also finally unlock access to the Night Witch and the Lumberjack, so you can complete the meta version of Golem, like this one right here, or feel free to keep running one of the previous few strategies if they are still working for you. Now finally reaching Arena 15, this is where things get really juicy, as you will have access to every single card in the game, so you will be able to build any of the popular meta decks in the game, or any strategy you could ever want to use. Here are a few of my favorites. Mega Knight, Ram Raider, Archer Queen, Lightning. You cannot go wrong with this strategy. It is all over the place right now. Also, Electro Giant Beatdown with the Golden Knight is such a disgusting strategy to use. Or feel free to go ahead and use the classic Graveyard Splashyard deck with the Archer Queen, because it absolutely destroys. Or if any of the previous strategies has been working really well for you and you are in the groove with them, feel free to keep using them because they are still strong in this Arena 15 portion of the challenge. Or go crazy and basically try anything because you have access to every single card in the game for this last portion of the challenge. Go ahead and have some fun with it. But that is it, guys and girls. Those are my recommended strategies for the new Arena Challenge. I would say just try and go with what you're comfortable with and what you have the most experience with, and have some fun with it. Remember, this is a bigger challenge. It requires a total of 45 wins to complete, and obviously more battles if you lose a few, so it will take some time, but you do have a lot of time to complete the challenge. So I would say don't stress about trying to finish the challenge all in one day. But I really hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, feel free to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future Clash Royale videos. But that is in a video. Thank you all so much for joining me. We shall see you all in the next one.